And we're back with our special coverage of the lead, the White House in crisis. We're back now with more on the breaking news in our politics lead. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has been subpoenaed for documents by 3 House committees. Could Rudy Giuliani be next? Let's chew over all this. And Aaron, let me start with you. Congressman Mike Quigley, he sits on the Intelligence Committee, says he wants Giuliani to testify because, quote, he doesn't know what he shouldn't say.
Loose lips sink ships. That is a famous national security saying, and Rudy's on TV all the time, really testing out messaging and throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. And I think ultimately it's just going to come back to bite him.
And Mike, in an interview with Politico today, Giuliani says he really sets a bar for himself. He gives an interview, gives a crazy quote, and then the next day he tries to give a crazier one. Today he says, I'm the real whistleblower. If I get killed now, you won't get the rest of the story. He then insisted he should be entitled to the same whistleblower protections that the other whistleblower is getting, the one who actually went through the proper channels.
Yeah, look, I don't understand that quote, but to the point of what the Democrats are saying, we want to subpoena him because we think he'll be a bad witness, is essentially what they're saying. He doesn't know what he shouldn't say. That speaks
well, I don't know
to
what you mean by bad witness. I mean, it
well,
depends on which position you're.
We want to subpoena him and have him talk because we think we can play gotcha, which shows how political this entire thing is. And the Democrats have really put themselves in such a tough position because everything they've done looks political. It's shoot first, ask questions later. They've been trying to impeach the president for 2 years. Now they've got something they think they can really get him on, and people are sort of like, I don't believe this.
What do you think of Rudy? Liability or asset for the president?
Well, he has pretty much been a liability all along. I mean, if you think about the whole issue with the president paying off Stormy Daniels, he kind of would say things on TV, and I think get the president in trouble. The president sort of escaped the Stormy Daniels, whatever sort of maligning around that. So I don't think he's been a good force for this president, but he's so much like the president. I mean, they are 2 peas in a pod. I mean, they're conspiracy theorists. They're self-aggrandizing. He believes he's the hero, Rudy Giuliani does, and he's the real whistleblower. So I think, the president can't really quit Rudy Giuliani.
How is Rudy perceived by White House officials? Because I would think he causes them headaches.
Yes, and he has caused a lot of headaches. The problem is that he has Trump's blessing for so many of the things that he does, but then it's the other people who have to deal with the fallout from what Rudy Giuliani says. And Mike Pompeo is the perfect example of this. That's going to be a point of scrutiny and focus over the next several weeks as we're going through this process of what exactly their communications were between the 2 of them or other State Department officials, how much of that Mike Pompeo gave his blessing to. The problem with Rudy is that he's not someone who works in the White House. The president can't just fire him. He's his personal attorney. He's kind of been in this, not clear position for so long. But he drives people in the White House crazy. What we're learning is that the White House is acknowledging for the first time that transcript of the president's call with the president of Ukraine was moved from where these transcripts are typically stored to a different server a server that's typically for information that's national security sensitive, more for very sensitive information, not typically for the readouts of the president's calls with heads of state. And the White House is acknowledging this. This is one of the more explosive claims in that whistleblower's complaint. And in a statement obtained by my colleague Pam Brown, first to CNN, a senior White House official says, quote, National Security Council lawyers directed that the classified document be handled appropriately. That's them acknowledging that they did move that transcript of the call somewhere where fewer eyes essentially could see it. And this has been a point of contention because initially in that complaint, the whistleblower said that White House lawyers had this moved. So what we're reading into this statement is they are saying it wasn't just someone generally from the White House counsel's office. They're specifically putting this on a lawyer for the National Security Council, even though we should note that typically those lawyers do fall under the umbrella of the White House counsel's office. But this is going to be something to keep an eye on in the next few days because as we are learning that this transcript was moved, a lot of the questions have been whether or not the president directed people to move it or whether they acted unilaterally. And that's going to be a question about this. And this also goes into, even though on Twitter today, the president is trying to question the credibility of this whistleblower, saying that their information was inaccurate, this shows that it was not, because that was one of the chief concerns in his complaint, in this person's complaint, that they said that this transcript had been moved essentially so there was less of a chance that it could leak out and be embarrassing for the president and the White House.
Caitlin, if you can, help me read the White House confirming this here, and forgive me if this is off, but by saying White House lawyers directed this, is that trying to shift the blame here, saying, oh, the lawyers said this has to happen? Is that the read, or is it just more looking for a legal foundation for that move?
that could potentially be it. But what we had known before, that it was White House lawyers that directed this transcript to be moved. This is specifically putting it on a lawyer for the National Security Council.
Right.
That's, of course, what John Bolton used to run. Those are the aides that are on the calls transcribing what it is that the president says to these world leaders. And so that is essentially what we seem to be moving, is they're shifting it not just the White House counsel's office overall, they're putting it on the National Security Council's office specifically. Now, we don't know who it is. There's not a lot of detail about exactly whether or not that National Security Council lawyer who directed this to be moved was under the direction of someone else in the council's office, or potentially someone higher up than that. Those are the things that we're still trying to figure out. But right now, they are admitting that, yes, a lawyer directed this transcript to be moved to a different server where these transcripts are typically kept.
Well, we should know the Washington Post also reporting this morning that it was the president who, after some embarrassing phone calls were leaked early in his administration, who said that he wanted to tighten up the group of people that saw that. So relevant, I suppose, the larger picture.